Okay, if we could have everybody's attention, if you're still finishing dessert, please feel free to do so. We'd like to get the program underway tonight. I think the marquee on the campus said we're here till 11 o'clock, so this will be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll be good. All right, good evening, and again, welcome to the 2015 University of Southern Indiana Athletic Department Hall of Fame Banquet. This is the 9th annual event to honor some of the greatest athletes ever to grace the court, the field of competition for the University of Southern Indiana. Tonight, 5 former athletes will be recognized. These 5 individuals represented 7 different sports, and between them, they combined to be named to the GLVC All-Conference team 12 times. They were named All-American 6 times, named All-Region 5 times, and they were part of 4 conference championship teams. These 5 inductees were also nominated and selected by a 9-member Hall of Fame committee back in December. For those of you that have attended this event in the past, we're going to use a little bit of a different format tonight. Instead of having all of the inductees have a presenter to come up and say a few words about each of the inductees, and then the inductees speak. You see the 2 chairs here. I'll have an opportunity to call each of the individuals up and then talk to them, ask them a few questions about their experience here at USI, and then a presenter will then give them their Hall of Fame award. So let's begin. This first former athlete was a 4-time All-American in track and steeplechase and a 3-time All-Conference runner in cross country, and also was as a student athlete here in the late 1990s. Ben Kabsoya could not be with us this evening, so in his place, we would like to welcome to the stage his cross-country coach and track coach, Mike Hilliard.
How are you?
Good, Mike. Okay. You arrived here about the same time that Ben did back in 1997. What were your initial thoughts when you saw him practice for the first couple times?
Well, you know, is my mic on? Okay,
yes.
Let's make sure. Feel like I'm on a talk show or something here.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It is. You know, I had been around Ben for a year. I was coaching the women's team when Ben first came here. And Coach Stegemuller is the one that recruited him. Actually, Ellie Rono helped recruit and bring him here as well. They lived in the same village in Kenya, so he helped to bring Ben back. And so I'd seen Ben run for a year, and his first year here, he definitely had some ups and downs, just adjusting to life here in the United States, getting accustomed to American food and making sure that he didn't eat too much American food. And you know, so he had some injury issues, and actually his first year here didn't make the top 7 on the cross-country team. And the same day that Ellie Rono won a national championship. Knew that Ben had some ability, though, because that following spring, he went from being a complete no-name to being an All-American in the 1,500 meters. So I definitely knew that there was something special there. I mean, you could look at the guy. He had calves that looked like broomstick handles and just ran like a gazelle. You know, so it was just a matter of time before, you know, his talent started to emerge.
Okay, steeplechase was something that he excelled in here at USI. What is a steeplechase event?
Well, actually, he didn't run the steeple.
Oh, he didn't?
No, he didn't. But that's actually.
Let
me take that back. He ran the steeplechase his first year here, and had some success with it. But then we found out that he had a lot of speed, a tremendous amount of speed. So he ended up running 3:46 in the 1,500 his junior year. The next year, ended up running 3 minutes and 42 seconds for 1,500 meters. Now, to put that into terms that everyone can kind of get their head around, that's the equivalent of a sub-4-minute mile. In fact, after he finished here, he ended up running 3 minutes and 53 seconds for the mile. So he definitely found his niche there with that event. Qualified for the national championships in the 5,000 meters as well. And then actually by accident, literally an accident, we put him in the 800 meters at a meet at Indiana University simply as a tune-up for the national championships. Well, he ends up running 1 minute and 48 seconds in the 800, which ranked him number 2 in the country. So the plan all along was we're going to run the 1,500 and the 5K at nationals. He's ranked 1st in one and 3rd in the other, and now he's ranked 2nd in the country in the 800. And I thought, well, now what do we do? You know? And we ended up sticking with the original plan of the first 2 events. That's what he preferred. But Yeah.
So between an 800 and a 5,000, I mean, how much discipline is needed? I mean, 800 is, what, obviously 800 yards, but I mean, and then 5,000, so you got to have a little bit of discipline to have two extremes to be participating in a sport.
You have to have discipline and you have to have a lot of talent. You know, it's very rare to see an athlete of that caliber in both events. In fact, I know for certain that year there wasn't another athlete in the country that was even ranked in the top 2 or top 10 in those two events at such an extreme range. It's definitely, you don't see it very often.
So what kind of pressure was on him if he's being recruited by Ellie Rono, arguably the best cross-country track runner in the school history, to kind of follow in his footsteps?
Yeah, you know, that's a lot to live up to, but Ellie obviously had a pretty good eye for talent. I have to admit, to that first semester, I think Coach Stegemoller was scratching his head a little bit, thinking, what did we get here? Because, you know, he comes over and he's not even in our top 7. But by the end of that spring, you know, we started to realize that we've got something pretty special here.
You know, Mike, and over the last several years, I mean, all the success that cross-country track has had here at the school, and Ellie kind of set the bar, but then Ben coming right after that. Would it be safe to say that Ben also helped kind of get this program to where it is today?
There's no question. You know, if you look back at the record books today, you know, I think this kind of speaks to Ben's legacy. And yes, he was certainly in Ellie Rono's shadow, but Ellie Rono now holds one school record. He holds one school record in the indoor 5,000 meters. Ben Capsoya still holds 3 school records in the 800, the 1,500, and the outdoor 5,000 meters. You know, so because he never won that national title, you know, I don't think he ever quite got the attention that maybe he deserved. And Ellie Rono, literally and figuratively, cast a pretty long shadow. You know, so yeah, you know, I think that speaks to his legacy a little bit, that he's still, you know, a lot of those records have been challenged, you know, over the last few years, and Ben's a few of them are going to be there for a while.
All right, was there a certain meet or event in his career here that kind of sticks out in your mind?
Actually, one that I didn't get to attend. Bill Stegemoller, you know, he had retired from coaching, but he really wanted to go to the pin relays. So Bill took Ben to the pin relays, and I think Ben ended up finishing second at the pin relays and set the school record for 5,000 meters that day. So while I wasn't able to attend that, you know, just getting the phone call from Bill and his excitement over it was definitely a highlight for me. Okay,
Ben Capsoya, first inductee of the 2015 University of Southern Indiana Hall of Fame Banquet. And John Marcall will now present to you to get to Ben.
No problem. All right. Thanks.
Our next inductee also, unfortunately, was not able to be with us here this evening, but he has records that have stood for 25 years in the sport of men's soccer here at the University of Southern Indiana. Among the records, most goals scored in a game, in a season, and a career. Also, most points accumulated in a match, as well as a season and a career. And his name, Michael Corday. And right now, Laura Titchener and Steve McCullough would like to invite them up to the stage. Laura's going to have a few words from Michael.
This letter is from Michael. He sent it to me just a little bit ago. It says, "Good evening to everyone. Please accept my apologies for being unable to attend this year's ceremonies. I was so excited and immediately humbled when I first received the email informing me of my induction into the USI Athletic Hall of Fame. I couldn't wait to join everyone at the celebrations and to visit with my Evansville family and friends again. Unfortunately, my mother has had a massive stroke a few days ago, and my family is at her bedside, as we've been told there's very little chance that she will regain consciousness. So please, I ask that everyone celebrate heartily for me. I wish to thank everyone who nominated me for this wonderful honor and consider myself privileged to not only be a recipient of the award, but to simply have been a part of USI's wonderful athletic tradition. My years at USI were some of the best of my life, and I cherish every memory and experience formed there. It is, in fact, fitting that this honor has been bestowed on me during this particular time because it was my mother who encouraged me to actually accept the opportunity to go to Indiana way back then. I had been scouted while playing for the Bermuda National Youth Team and invited to trials with Plymouth Argyle, an English professional team in the southern part of England. Having been in England for a few months, Mom knew how much of a mama's boy I was and that I wasn't a very happy camper. I was doing quite well with the club, but just could not get used to being so far from home in such an unfamiliar place. It would not be unusual for one to look back and harbor great regret for not persevering in such circumstances. But Mom obviously had other plans. One of my local mentors had approached her concerning a potential athletic scholarship in one of the few American universities, and when I returned home for the summer, we pursued the offers, and I ended up happily settling in at USI. It is probably customary to cite memories of our football exploits at a time like this. However, for me, my experience at USI was about so much more than what we achieved in football, and I'm not going to even mention one victory or loss or any other football-related story. For me, Evansville was about its people. I'll try not to bore you with the million memories I have of my fantastic years in Evansville, but I will share a couple of things that stand out in my mind. Aside from all my amazing teammates and coaches and the wonderful faculty at the university, the thing I always recall most vividly is my very first night in Evansville. I was invited to go for a drive with our goalkeeper's flatbed truck, and we flew through the back roads of Indiana in this horrible faded red Toyota truck with the wind pushing the skin of my face back into my neck. I realized right then that I was going to die on my first night before ever kicking a ball for the Screaming Eagles. But then something happened that I will forever be thankful for. We had to stop for a passing train at 7 o'clock and didn't move again until 8 o'clock when it finally passed. But then I had transferred to the car belonging to who would become my new lifelong best friend, Don Miller from St. Louis, who I might add was one of the best footballers I've ever had the privilege to play with and just an all-around great guy. He and many others from different parts of the globe formed a formidable squad capable of competing with any team put on the field with us. We won GLVC championships for USI for fun. We certainly became the team to beat in the conference. We were always proud to represent USI. So had it not been for Mom, I wouldn't have formed the amazing friendships with all the wonderful people encountered at USI. I also wouldn't have had absolute pleasure and good fortune to meet and become virtually adopted by the nicest, most sincere, generous people I've ever met, the McCulloughs of 7300 Autumn Lane. Yes, I will always remember that address. Quickly became my second family and have become an important part of my life. They were exemplary of the type of people I seem to constantly encounter in Evansville, and I have been thankful for them. So thanks, Mom. In closing, I ask that you forgive me for making this a bit of a tribute to my mother, but she was the one who placed me firmly in your midst so I could gain the friendships of the beautiful people and experiences a place like Evansville, Indiana could offer. Again, I thank everyone involved in this process, and I am honored to even be a small part of such a great sporting tradition at the University of Southern Indiana. Regards, Michael Corday, Screaming Eagle for Life.
Steve, we were talking a little bit about the records that Michael holds and for 25 years. And you and I, during dinner, were talking the fact that on October 31st of 1986, he scored 5 goals in a game. And you were there. What was that like that afternoon?
Well, first of all, you got to know soccer. And score 5 goals, or for a team to score 5 goals in a soccer match is outstanding. And for an individual to score 5 goals is just unbelievable.
We talked about, and Laura talked about some of his, Michael, the redeeming qualities that he had. He was captain of the '86 team. What kind of qualities did you see in this young man?
Well, Mike was a very outstanding young man. We were privileged to be associated with him through many years while he was here, and he stayed in Evansville after this. He was a people person. He enjoyed being around people. He took a lot of youth soccer kids in this town and brought them along with the game. He just done many good things while he was here at USI. His teammates, he got along with his teammates very well. He just was an all-around good, like you say, soccer was why he was here, but he gives so much more to the community than soccer.
You know, it's easy to pick out a game where you score 5 goals or you record 10 points in a game, and the records that he has for goals in a season and a career. But on the soccer field, what else did you see from him that kind of put him in a position where obviously he's in a Hall of Fame at USI?
Well, on the soccer field, he was very, very aggressive, and you have to be to score goals. And he was a team leader. Not only did he score goals, he distributed the ball very well with his teammates. It wasn't all just Mike Carday on a soccer field.
Well, and back then, you know, soccer wasn't known around the world as it is today. What do you think, Michael Corday, what kind of soccer player would he be he's playing today?
Well, if he'd be playing today, he would still be among one of the best to ever come out of USI, that's for sure. And he could play with anybody.
Okay. Thank you very much, Steve. Appreciate you coming by. On behalf of Michael.
Okay. Okay.
Our next inductee was the first USI Women's Outdoor Track and Field All-American, where she placed 6th in the 5,000-meter event back in 1995. She was also named All-American in track that same year, as well as All-Region. Please welcome to the stage, Amy Roll-Baumgart. Amy, how are you? Okay, this is a school with a great tradition in cross country and track. To be labeled as the first All-American in that sport, that has to feel pretty special to you.
It is. It's an honor to be a groundbreaking participant in the women's cross country program.
To run both cross country and track, you have the outdoor season in cross country in the fall, the indoor track season kind of throughout the winter, and then the spring outdoor season. It's almost like you're competing throughout the academic year. How difficult was that?
It was a challenge. You know, you have to balance your studies with your training, and you have to manage your time really well.
How did you, as far as making that transition, we talked to a lot of different athletes when they jump from high school to college, and they all talk about the difference, the speed and size of the athletes that they're dealing with. What about the transition from high school track and field cross country to college? What was your biggest transition?
Well, my biggest transition was actually transferring from IU to USI, because I goofed around a little bit there at IU, and I wasn't an athlete. I was anything but, so there was a different transition for me as far as right out of high school. I wasn't an athlete straight out of high school, so I wouldn't really know what that transition was.
Well, talk about that then, because you're at college, you're at IU, and having a little bit of fun, I'm sure, and weekends, and then something just kind of hit you like, okay, instead of spending the weekends on Kirkwood or some of these other streets in Bloomington, you would have come down here and compete and be an athlete.
Well, I just realized that I was kind of wasting my time and some resources at IU, and so I decided to transfer to USI. And then I also decided I was wasting some resources and talent with my God-given gift of running, so I decided to ask Coach Nolan if I could be a walk-on participant on her cross-country team, and she was gracious enough to allow me to do that. And I really appreciate her, and it's just a great gift she gave me to just come as a walk-on.
So what was your first competitive meet like?
The team was so accepting, and everyone was, it was almost like I hadn't missed those competitive years early on. It was a great experience.
You know, having the opportunity to talk to cross-country runners today, those that just endure miles on end every week, when you were practicing, was it for you, did you like to have a running mate, or did you just kind of like to be alone with your thoughts, at least during the cross-country season?
We all trained really close together. Jenny Galbraith was a teammate of mine, and Chrissy Carlson, Marcy Obermeyer. We all pushed each other. We really were able to, one of us would take the lead or just take turns setting the pace.
So did you have a preference as far as your favorite time of the year, whether it's cross-country in the fall or the indoor season or outdoor season?
I always loved cross-country. The fall, the course out here was great. Through the woods, the challenge of, whether it was going to be cold or if it was going to be hot. I loved cross-country in the fall.
It just seems like all the time when you get near the end of the season, they always decide to have some of the bigger meets and climates that aren't really too conducive to cross-country running. But would you prefer to be running in...
Oh, the colder the better.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Bring the Vaseline on, put it up.
Okay.
You have to put some on your face and other regions. Bring it. The worse the conditions, the better, because then you always have to raise your game.
What kind of experiences, when you look back at your career here, Amy, as far as cross-country or track and field, are there meets or competitions and things that kind of stand out for you?
Most certainly. That first year I competed, USI hosted the regional here, and like I was saying, my teammate Jennifer Galbraith, she actually placed first, and I placed second, and neither one of us were picked for the 1-2 positions, and it had rained tremendously the night before the regional, and we were all muddy messes the night before when we had our practice run, and then we might have had a fair advantage maybe of knowing what the course was going to be like the next day, but it kind of leveled everything out too, because there were 2 runners from Lewis University that were picked to go 1-2, and they took each other out on a muddy curve, and slid, and Jenny and I both saw our opportunity, and we finished 1-2. And that was, fairly phenomenal. I mean, it was, one of those things, that's not going to happen again.
Okay, so kind of the highlight for you, and you were here in the mid-'90s, and especially 1995, there was an awful lot of excitement on this campus with regard to athletics. The basketball team was winning a national championship that year. Obviously, you and what you were able to achieve in 1990. But what was it like on campus, that fall and then certainly the spring when the basketball team kind of making the run? There
was a lot of excitement just to be a participating athlete for USI. Just as an honor, and you felt the excitement that it was setting the curve, or setting for the future, that what USI could potentially be. That there were better things to come.
Do you get a chance? I know everybody's busy and things, but to where the cross-country, the track and field program is today, do you get a chance to follow and just read about all the success that right now this program is having here?
Oh, yeah, it's very exciting. I came out with my boys. I have 2 young boys, and we came to the Nationals in 2009, and that was just, such an experience to see that, you see all the excitement of all these teams nationally come to Evansville, Indiana, and you just pride, basically. It's a lot of pride.
So when you're up at IU and you come to Evansville, and then in December you get a call from John Mark Hall saying you're going to be inducted into the USI Athletic Hall of Fame. In your wildest dreams, when you first got to Evansville and started competing, did that ever enter your mind?
No, not at all. No. It's very humbling. I'm just very grateful to everyone who nominated me, and just thankful to God and thankful just for the opportunity that Coach Nolan gave me initially to even walk on to the team. And, you know, hopefully I can set a good example for other local runners to come to USI and do the same thing.
Well, congratulations on your induction. I think Tammy Nolan now will come up and present the Hall of Fame Award to Amy Roll-Baumgart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next inductee is a three-time all-conference player and is the school's all-time leader in steals and in the top 10 in 4 other categories, both on the offensive and defensive sides of the court. She helped the Eagles reach the Elite Eight her junior year. Please welcome Casey Hughes Lamb.
Good.
Okay, from North Knox High School in Bicknell, and tell us a little bit about who recruited you, kind of how those first couple meetings went, then your visit to USI, and eventually coming to play basketball here at USI.
Coach Dugan recruited me, so Coach Stein asked me what drew me to USI, and I think the campus. I mean, I didn't really have any expectations, and once I came on campus, I just fell in love with it. So, I mean, of course, the coaching staff, you know, had a little bit to do with it. I mean, I have to say that, but. So, I mean, I remember coming here and meeting with the team, and I fell in love with it.
Well, I've been doing USI basketball games since like the mid-'80s, and I was obviously part of the men's basketball when you were doing your thing in the women's basketball. I know a couple of times I had the chance to interview you after games, and you were always rather soft-spoken, as I recall. But obviously, the way that you played spoke volumes for your ability and the speed that you had. What, as far as your offense and getting to the basket, because you played both guard and forward, so how difficult was that to play kind of different positions?
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, I didn't, you know, I couldn't distinguish between the two. I mean, either worked for me.
Well, because, I mean, you could score from inside, you can score from outside. I just remember, you know, beating defenders off the dribble.
Right.
So just using that speed, is that something that you learned kind of growing up when you at high school, kind of here at USI?
I think so. In high school, I ran the point a lot. So, you know, if I wanted to get to the basket, I had to do it from the top. So, yeah, I think it started in high school.
You know, all these offensive records that you're in the top 10, and you take a look at points scored, I think you're 4th school, and then you're also in the top 10 in assists. Now, normally if somebody's points, their assist numbers are low, or if they're high in assists, their points probably aren't that high. But obviously you had a unique ability. Just tell about how you kind of approached each possession offensively, to whether to shoot, to find an open teammate, you know, to get the ultimate result, which was the basket.
I think, I mean, whatever the situation presented. I mean, you know, I didn't go down each possession saying, I'm going to score this possession or going to pass this possession. It just, I mean, and to be honest, I didn't know I was that, you know. So, I mean, just whatever, like I said, whatever possession, you know, we went down, if that's what I had to do, and that's what I had to do.
Okay, on the defensive side of the court, you have the record for most steals in a career. So that's got to take some, obviously, very quick hands. Most of those steals just taking the ball out of the possession of your opponent, or was it getting in passing lanes? I mean, kind of take us through how you determine, that maybe a steal is a possibility?
I think it was probably more in the passing lane. I don't think I was as quick guarding the ball, so I think it's more anticipation.
This is a team that had an awful lot of success. Your junior year, you guys win the regional championship up in Michigan and go to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
Kind of tell us about that year, because I think going in to the Elite Eight, you guys had won about 15 or 16 games in a row, and 18 out of 19. That was really a magical year for you guys.
Yeah, it was huge. But once we got to there, I hurt my shoulder practicing for it, so I didn't even get to play in it. So thanks for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Oh, that kind of explains the loss then to whoever it was in the Elite Eight. Well, let's go on to a better weekend.
That is my most fondest memory I have, though, is of that tournament. So even though I didn't get to play.
Can't be very fond, Casey,
well,
if you're on the bench.
That's the one I remember. So
okay.
But I mean, I think it was practice maybe like the day before. I mean, it just happened, and we tried to work it out, and it just didn't do it. So I mean, it was a good experience. I loved going there, watching all the teammates, and we just didn't pull it out. Well,
but I mean, it was a great year. I think you guys go 28-4, and I want to take you back to another weekend. I think it was that same year. Jessica Stuckman, a freshman out of Quincy, was not able to go. She was injured, and I think Coach Stein, the coaching staff, asked you to play out a position the weekend at St. Joe and at Fort Wayne, and you had a 30-point, 18-rebound effort at St. Joe, and then you go to Fort Wayne and get about 18 or 20 more points. You're the GLVC Player of the Week. So what was that conversation like when Coach Stein said, Casey, we need to kind of have you do something a little out of the ordinary this weekend?
I mean, to be honest, I don't remember. I don't remember that conversation. I do remember that game now that you brought it up, and I mean, just whatever he needed of me, I try to do my best. So.
What did you put more pride in, offense or defense?
I don't know. I'd say it's probably a little even. I mean, defense was a little bit harder. Had to work a little bit harder, but I don't know. I would say evened out.
And you had, like I said, you were on some very, very good basketball teams here. Do you have a chance to kind of keep up with some of your teammates back then?
I do. A few of them, not a lot. Facebook helps a lot. I kind of communicate, but I was just telling Coach Stein that I see Gretchen Miles, Adrian Sides, see some of them a little bit, and I'm pretty good friends with a couple of the girls that used to play when I was a little bit younger, so I keep in touch with some of them.
So when you left USI, did you continue to play any kind of competitive basketball?
Not when I left USI, but the past few years we do an alumni game at our high school, so we've done that the past few years and get to play a little bit. It's fun.
So do you still steal the ball and assist and score in those alumni games?
A little bit, yeah.
All right, your fondest memory, you talk about getting to the Elite Eight, but I mean, was there a specific game, part of a game that when you look back in your career here, Casey, you think, you know what, that was probably my best moment?
I would say regionals of that year were probably big. I mean, that was, I think, if I remember correct, the last game was a pretty close game, and we pulled it out, and that was, I mean, I remember our team that year was just so close, and I mean, every game was exciting, but I think, if I'm correct in that year, the regionals were pretty exciting that year too.
And ever since I've been doing the game, it just amazes me, the fan base here at USI for basketball. Here, and how far we are away from home, the fans that support the basketball program. Obviously, those are pretty fond memories for you, too.
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I went to North Knox, we had a pretty big fan base, and then coming here to USI, it was just, I mean, the same, if not more. So, I mean, that's huge. When you're out there playing and you can hear all those people cheering for you, it's, it's big confidence.
So your thoughts when you get to call in December about being in the 2015 class for the Hall of Fame?
I was shocked. I mean, I had no clue. John Mark, we'd kind of like played phone tag, and I was like, what? I asked Corey, I'm like, what does he want with me? I don't even know, like, why he's trying to get a hold of me. So I was very humbled, yeah, very, very excited.
Well, obviously, there's been some outstanding USI women basketball players that are now in the Hall of Fame, and you deservedly have a chance to join them. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Casey.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Casey's dad, Rod, and Coach Rick Stein will present her with her award. Our final inductee is a member of both the 400 Club for his 400-plus batting average in a season and also the 300 Club for hitting over 300 for his entire career here at USI. He still remains in the top 5 of 6 offensive categories in the USI baseball record book. Please welcome to the stage Michael Pierman.
Easier. How you doing, Dan?
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Doing well.
Nice. Okay, first question I have for you is you hold the record for most doubles and triples. So how many times did you run past first base, ignore your first base coach, have a single into a double, then ignore the third base coach when you should have stopped at second and stretch it to a triple?
Yeah, that generally happened. Either that or it's because I can't hit the ball far enough to get it out of the park, right? So just hit it to the fence and run as quickly as you can. But I don't know how often that happened. If it did, I'm not going to confess to it right now.
Okay. A member of the 400 Club, I mean, you think about a baseball player hitting 400, and it doesn't happen very often. What year was that? And tell us, that had to be a year that you just couldn't wait to get to the ballpark every night.
You know, it was. It was a sophomore year, and I wasn't the only one that year that hit 400. We had Jason Foles, who hit like 450-something that year, and Jeremy Jones hit 430, I think. So it was an incredible year for averages for sure. We were swinging, I think it was -5 was the difference between your weight and your inches. And then promptly the next year they switched us to wood bats. So it made a big change for us.
So do you remember your average that year? Your final average?
Sophomore year?
Yes, like 430, 450? I mean, well, I guess my question, Michael, is obviously the last couple weekends of the season, if you're flirting with 400, you know, you hear about, well, okay, let's just, you know, I'm at 405 right now, I want to keep this. But I know that's not you and your personality.
No, you're wanting to play. You're ready to get out there and play, sick or whatever it was. You were anxious to play. You were ready to go and see what you could do and help. Obviously, we're trying to make it to the tournament, and we really had a good team that year. We just got shorted out, I think, by half a game or so. We had to rely on someone else to beat a team, and having 30 wins and not winning, not going to the tournament was really strange because we had a good team.
And then you're also a member of the 300 Club, so you finish your career batting over 300. So a lot of people can have one great year, and obviously hitting over 400 is something very special, but then to do it consistently over 3 or 4 years. So for you, the 400 Club or the 300 Club?
I would say the 300 Club, because it shows you more consistent, and then, you know, it sets that, I don't know, it just shows that it wasn't a fluke, something you can continue, you know, to provide and do each year, and it's quite an honor. You know, I came in my freshman year and had not very good success at my first year, and then Coach Gady and Barney both messed with my stance a little bit, and obviously they fixed it the right way because things went well.
So what kind of hitter were you? I mean, you spray the ball all over the place, or?
Yeah, my power was typically to right center. If I pulled the ball, it was a fluke. But that's how I got my triples, right? You just hit it out into the right center. But yeah, I was a wide open hitter, attack the ball, give up the inner half basically, but use the middle away, which pitchers generally want to pitch you away because they think you're going to be more powerful inside. So it worked to my advantage, I guess.
So where did you bat in the lineup?
3, 4, I think about 3. Sounds right.
Okay, so you're hitting 300 for your career, 400 for the season. I mean, did you see the pitchers certainly adjust during the course of the season if you'd see them for a second time?
Sometimes they did. You know, they're going to make a mistake, right? You got to capitalize on when you can when they make a mistake. And I was fortunate enough; it felt like they always made the mistake that I was looking for, or I was seeing the ball well at the time. It went well.
So you talked about, and during your time here, the GLVC was experiencing with the wooden bats, and now obviously we have the aluminum bats. Mm-hmm. Preference for you?
Well, obviously aluminum tends to travel a little further when you hit it. It was a good experience. It got me ready for playing ball actually after college. I played with the Otters and beyond a little bit. And to get the summer experience that the coaches sent us to practice, having it all year long and what, is your college season was a benefit, because when you rolled into that summer league, you had already done this, been there, and it wasn't an adjustment you had to really run into. So I don't know, I enjoyed the wood. It's kind of strange to say, and I enjoyed the sophomore year, don't get me wrong, because there was a lot of good at-bats and balls that traveled really far off of them, but the wood was it was a accomplished experience to see that you could do things with that as well as aluminum.
So in your time here at USI, the baseball team won over 120 games.
Wow.
And you take a look at that, and you've had some phenomenal seasons from nearby Mount Vernon. So the recruiting process, talk about that and the decision that you made to come here and play baseball.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. I didn't know if I was going to go play college baseball. I was at Castle, and we had a coaching change. Dave Sensenbrenner came in to coach, and he had played out here at USI in the 80s. And I don't know if Dave and Coach Gady knew each other, or if they just crossed paths. I never really asked. But anyway, Sensenbrenner had mentioned to Gady that I'd love to play, and then Coach came out and saw me, and I guess he liked what he saw, and then he gave me a chance to come in. And I was 17 when I came into college, so Coach saw the right thing, which was good for me. He redshirted me my freshman year, gave me a year under my belt to turn 18, and then actually have a full year under my belt of watching the guys play and learning how college was. I mean, there's a lot of freedom, right? You've got to discipline yourself when you come from high school, where it's real structured into really, you're here to play ball, but you're also here to get an education, and they were really proponents of making sure you get your studies done as well as being prepared to play.
I apologize. You are from Newburgh and not Mount Vernon, so
no, that's all right.
Okay. What you look at your career now. I mean, game or season. Certainly that year that you guys won 30 games, and again, you had to be disappointed not moving and getting on to the tournament. But in your career here, is there game, season, week that kind of stands out for you?
Yeah, there are. There was always moments you remember. Remember your teammates. As a playing moment in a game, I guess when you're hitting well. I had a game where I had a home run, a single, and a triple, and I thought, wow, I got one more at bat. Don't think about it. Just got one more at bat. So there it was, right? I hit it in the gap in left center, and I'm not stopping at first base. I've got to get this cycle. So I went right on past, and then I went right in there, and my teammates were very happy for me, and they said, "You weren't going to stop." I said, well, "No. I mean, I get thrown out, I'm going to make it. It's one, got to try it." But that stood out.
All right. So I mean, obviously to play baseball here, and it's a grind. I mean, you're playing sometimes 4 games over the weekend, maybe a game or two during the course of the week, non-conference games. So you talk about balancing and that time management. And, baseball certainly is a sport where there's an awful lot of games in a short period of time. How about that transition from high school to college?
Yeah, it was interesting. You go into class during the day and then having a game in the evening, or for our sake, it was during the day because we didn't have lights. And then traveling and missing class and having to pick up your studies when you got back was different. But, coaches had study tables for us from 9 to 11. I think that's right. When it ran, it was 9 to 11, and it was not good. It was at night. But when Coach showed up at 10 o'clock and you weren't there, then we found out at 6 o'clock in the morning how much fun it wasn't to not be there between 9 and 11. But, it was really a good adjustment to do that, because when I got done playing high school ball with the Otters, you play 84 games in 89 days. So, I mean, you talk about playing all the time. That was one of those things that, obviously it's a grind, but it's worth it.
All right. Well, I mean, you take a look at your career here and everything that you were able to accomplish. There's been some tremendous baseball players in this Hall of Fame. You get a call in December from John Markall. What's kind of the first thing that goes through your mind?
I tell you what, it was just a tingle. It's a sensation. It's really strange. You don't know what to think. It's a very humbling experience. It just shows all the hard work that you've done. I don't know. It's emotional. It's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot to take in.
All right. Well, we congratulate you on being a member of the 2015 Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. Michael Pierman.
Thank you.
And Michael will receive his award from his parents, Stephen and Dee Jolly. Well, this will conclude the 2015 University of Southern Indiana Athletic Department Hall of Fame banquet. Again, we want to thank everybody for coming out this evening. And again, let's give another big round of applause to this year's induction class. All right, thank you, everybody. Have a very good evening.